Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This episode is brought to you by the Inspire Collection by Kalia. You shouldn't settle for just any old pair of leggings. You deserve something better, something designed with you in mind, like the new Inspire leggings by Kalia. Their most versatile collection yet, made for any workout. They're lightweight, buttery soft, breathable, and made with Lycra adaptive fiber, which molds to your body for a barely there supportive fit. It's perfect for wherever your wellness routine takes you. Shop the Inspire Collection by Kalia now, exclusively at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Hey, everybody, this is Mike from Bois. What we've got here is a conversation with Scott St. Louis, one of Johnny Hardwick's best friends. This is the first time he's talked about Johnny since he passed, and I don't want to give it too much fanfare because it's a solemn occasion. But Scott was super nice to give us his time, and I think you'll enjoy it.
I tried to fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Hello, is this Scott?
Yeah, man.
Hey, Scott, this is Rusty here. I'm here with my co-host, Mike.
How you doing, Scott?
Hey, Rusty. Hi, Mike. I'm hanging in there, guys. How you doing?
I get that.
We're doing all right ourselves. As best we can in a time where we've been doing this King of the Hill podcast now for 2 years, and I've been a King of the Hill fan since I was like 8. And I'm 33 now, so
Great.
it's kind of somber even for the fans.
Super somber
of the show too. So we're just some two guys from Texas that are huge fans of the show and started a podcast, and we appreciate you taking the time to come talk to our audience about Johnny a little bit.
So if we kind of introduce you, can you just tell some great stories about him?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. I got you.
Johnny's life was one big story. So it's
that's what it looked like. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of visitors in his world, and I can tell you, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Johnny had a condition called hypothyroidism.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah, and some people would interpret that as him being crazy.
Sure. But
it was usually like when his thyroid was not getting the proper dosages that it should have been getting, and it's a condition called myxedema.
Okay.
Right, which makes you a little bit like the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
So when he was coming out here for the table read of the King of the Hill, he suffered one of those situations, and he didn't make the table read.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but everybody was there. Mike was there. Great cast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he was he had to be medically intervened on in order to get his thyroidism back in check.
Yeah.
And then once that happened, he was doing great, and he was really excited about the latest season, and he did 6 episodes so far. So I don't know if you guys know that or not. A lot of people don't know that
Sure.
because they're really tight-lipped on kind of what's going out. But the fans should know that there is 6 episodes of Johnny in the can.
That is truly something to look forward to.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is really, really something now.
You know, it's sad that's all there is, but I'm glad that there was something, you know, because I know
Mhm.
how much that role meant to Johnny. Just as a fan, I know how much that role meant to him, and knowing that he got to at least play it out for a little while, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and get to flesh it out and see what it would have been like to come back and do a Dale 15 years down the road.
I feel like had we not
That's
had
right.
had a strike, we'd have a whole season of Dale. You know, but you know things
You
happen.
definitely would have.
Yeah,
Yeah, you definitely would have had a season.
things happen
Yeah.
for a reason, though. You know, and it's not always easy to see that. So I'm just glad we got some more Dale and some more Johnny before he moved on.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but he was like a huge fan of Westerns,
Yeah,
like old Westerns.
yeah.
So he would call me and he would go, Scott, you got to watch The Rifleman. It's on YouTube. And then so we would watch episodes and then talk about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, like, why am I watching,
Crap.
right? Like, this is like 1958
Yeah,
and it's
Yeah.
one camera and
Yeah.
it's, you know, and then I started to see the beauty in it. Like, this is a one camera scene. You had to get all the gun work right. All
Sure.
the acting had to be right. Everything had to be beautifully done in order for that scene to work.
Yep.
So he was a huge fan of details. And, you know, we created a thing together that we were just getting ready to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was based around that type of art, you know.
Okay.
So it's and he would always tell me, like I said, no, like he goes, you got to play Ditch. That's the name of the main character because you are Ditch. Because how we met was that I used to be in a cowpunk band called the Ditch Van Goghies, like back in the '90s, right?
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And he was a fan of the music and of the band, and I never knew that until I started working with this guy named Joe Boucher, who was a producer on The King of the Hill.
Yeah.
And he brought in Johnny to voice a character called Riff Raff.
Riff
And,
Raff. Really?
Yeah, exactly. But
Wow.
and then Johnny came to me and said, "Hey, man, like you know," and we had Toby Huss
Yeah.
voice Ditch,
Yeah.
and Big Schmo actually voiced Skeeter,
Mm-hmm.
and this other artist named Meg Myers,
Okay.
who's a singer-songwriter, did a voice of one of the characters named Ellie Meg. And he came to me. He goes, "Look, I you know, I like this, but I think it could be so much more."
Right.
And his wheels really started turning, and we started working very closely together and developing this show called Trailer Metal.
Right.
And we didn't know if we were going to do like a series or a movie. We were leaning towards a movie,
Okay.
like doing an animated movie. And
Yeah.
what was funny is that everything that he would write started happening in real life, right? So
Okay.
he talked about this thing called the money virus.
All right.
It would take place 10 years in the future, and it was post-apocalypse.
Okay.
So everyone in the world that is something today, like Mike Judge, who's, you know, Mike
Sure.
Judge,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Like Hollywood's gone.
Okay.
So he's a chemist again, and he was going to be like the Elon Musk of our world.
Oh,
Right?
wow. Yeah.
And like Greg Daniels' character's name would be they, them. And it'd be like everything that he would write would happen, right?
Yeah.
So, and we had this voice of God, who we used, this guy named Chris Slonsky out of the Midwest, who just did this fabulous impersonation of Sam. God, what's his last name? Deep cowboy voice.
Oh, Sam.
Sam
Yeah,
Elliott.
there you go.
Yeah, Sam Elliott.
Big
Sam
mustache.
Elliott, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the idea of the voice of God, and like God was kind of
yeah.
controlling everything that would happen. You know, the West Coast was taken over by the Russians, except for Hollywood, which was taken over by China.
Sure.
And then you had the rest of America, which was all the way up to Texas. The Texas was taken over by the Saudis, except for Austin.
Okay.
Austin was like this little, you know, pothole of Americans
Yeah.
there. and they gave Kim Jong-un North Dakota.
North Dakota.
And and he would practice firing off his missiles towards Florida.
That's funny.
You know, so it was just this great idea in this world that was just phenomenal and beautiful. And I hope at some time we get to make it as a way to honor the man.
Yeah, no
Because
kidding.
let me tell you something, he was beast mode when it came to writing and when it came to performing.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched him go into the studio to do these latest episodes of The King of the Hill, and it was like he never left.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, like going through the show episode by episode that we do. So that's the main gist of our show. We have two episodes that we do. We do one that we release on Mondays where it's episodic content where we go season by season. We're on season 4 right now, and if you go through and you pick the ones that Johnny wrote. Like you could,
he's all over the board.
Yeah, no kidding.
You could see the genius in each one. You could see his thumbprint. You could definitely tell which ones were his and which ones weren't, kind of thing. And that's what I liked about him. That's when you say he was a writing powerhouse. I like as a fan, I could see it. You know what I mean? I visualize exactly what you're saying, kind of thing.
So we
I don't know. Do you guys know the story about Eric Estrada? Have you ever heard that?
No,
no,
go
not
for
at
it.
all.
Yeah.
He was on his way to Fox, right? And he got in a road rage situation with Eric Estrada, and Eric Estrada fucking flipped him off. Right? Sorry, I don't know if you can cuss.
No,
on
you're
the
good.
show.
Yeah,
go
you're
for
fine,
it,
you're
man. No, we're
fine.
King of the Hill podcast. Yeah, we're blue collar.
yeah.
We're pretty blue collar.
Hey,
Yeah.
only when you're
Good.
talking
So
about
am I.
Eric Estrada, but sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had like this little incident on the road, and then they got to the table read, right? And there's Eric Estrada sitting right across
Oh,
from him.
dear Lord.
'Cause I guess apparently he was in one of the things, and Eric had no idea who he had flipped off.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. He
That
loves
is funny.
telling that story.
You know,
That's great.
I think about that, like just driving around, I think, oh, I'd really like to flip them off, but I don't know who they are, So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
afraid,
right, yeah.
I'm afraid I'm going to get to a meeting and there they are. So that really happened to him. And like you said, he had that kind of life though, right? Where just things
That's right.
would just happen. So how long ago?
Oh, dude, he was like Forrest Gump, man. I mean, really, he would just walk into these situations, and they called him the Golden Child
I bet
because I mean he was tending bar, when he got the opportunity to do some writing for the King of the Hill.
Right. Yeah. They said that he did one little stand-up thing, and Mike Judge and Greg were there, and they were just like, "Oh, there's a guy," and then they completely changed the character of Dale to reflect Johnny, rather than the other way around.
Well, they wanted I don't know the other guy's name, but originally he was going to play.
It was Daniel Stern.
Yeah, Daniel Stern.
The sticky bandit from Home Alone. Yeah.
But Johnny, he wasn't the first pick, right, to replace Daniel. Like Johnny would walk around the writers' room, going, "I am Dale Gribble," and he would like deliver the lines, just driving everybody crazy until they finally gave him the opportunity to do it.
I don't really like saying it because it's
That's
corny,
fantastic.
but it was kind of like a manifestation. You know what I mean?
That's
He kind of
right.
like,
Oh yeah,
he wanted it so bad that he spoke it into existence.
Well, it kind of seemed like Johnny's life was a manifestation. I mean, just
he
whatever.
believed that, by the way.
Did he really?
he believed that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he believed that he could
Yeah.
really achieve whatever he had set his mind to.
Well, I tell you what, that really comes through on some of his YouTube stuff. Just seeing him sitting there with the piano and things. It just seems like a guy who's having a good life. I mean,
That's
it
right.
just like he's celebrating each little moment there, and he just wanted people to be part of the party. Is what it seemed like
That's
to
right.
me.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I'm sure you guys know a lot of people in Austin
Sure.
who Johnny visited at some point, whether you saw him in the park walking his dog or you saw him on South Congress walking barefoot, right?
Yeah.
So we had a situation where we were supposed to pitch Fox and Comedy Central. This was pre-COVID, and it was right after the hurricane in Houston.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny was in one of his myxedema phases. I hope I'm saying that right, but you guys look it
that's
up.
fine. Sure.
And he was on South Congress, and he was playing his guitar, and he had his guitar case open, was accepting donations for the Houston dogs, so that he could send dog food down to Houston for the dogs that had been, homeless or lost or whatever happened, right?
Sure.
That's awesome.
So he got arrested for vagrancy. And
Oh, no.
and he tried to tell the cops that he was Dale Gribble, and they put the cuffs on him. They thought he was just this crazy
They
guy.
just thought he was a crazy guy. That's,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God.
and they arrested him. And
Oh,
you
no.
could, it never got out, thank God, because but it was
You know, and those cops too that arrested him have probably watched like hundreds of hours of King of the Hill too, and they're like, "Dude, you're not Dale Gribble." And the fact that that it's that character too, it's just the character Dale Gribble. So
That's right.
like they're like, well, Dale Gribble's already the character that's, you know, kind of loopy or crazy or just off the wall. So they're like, well, this guy can't be Dale Gribble. Like nobody would just say they're Dale Gribble. You know, that's a good story.
Well, the other thing too is that he looked like a homeless guy.
He did.
You know, like if you run into him on the streets, like you would never think, because he just wanted to be, you know, one of the people, right? And he loved Austin, man. I mean, like he loved that community, and he loved the fact that he could take Willie down to South Congress, and you know,
Willie was his dog.
Willie Ray, Willie Ray is his dog.
What a great
Ray.
name.
That is a good dog name.
And tell me if this is accurate, but he reminded me a lot of Hunter S. Thompson. I don't know if that was on purpose or not.
I would say he was a lot like Hunter S. Thompson.
Okay.
You know, he was very misunderstood, I think, like because people expect celebrities to be, you know, a celebrity, right? But Johnny was just really Johnny. And if you ever had the opportunity to meet him, you would know that you know, he was like the Mad Hatter, but in a beautiful way, you know, really. So
what during the current stuff that he was recording, what you were just there with him recording that stuff, or okay.
Yeah, but he was staying at my house.
Oh, I
see.
So
he came out here and stayed here with me and my family. And,
oh, that's fantastic.
And we were just, me and my kids, we're on season 9 now, but we started to watch every episode of King of the Hill because they saw, because Johnny and I were recording for the other thing that we were working on.
Right, sure.
And so it drew their interest, and they're huge animation fans, and they didn't really have, you know, much experience with King of the Hill, but now we're on season 9, and we didn't stop, you know, and I knew he was gone the day that all that happened, when the police and stuff were at his house. So, and that was a very somber day here in my household.
I would imagine. Sure. Like he was part of the family.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
How old are your kids?
They're 10 and 13.
Oh yeah, that's a tough time.
Yeah. So
that's a tough time.
You're right at about that age, and so now we're on season 9.
Yeah,
watching every episode. We were just going to watch it up for the Hulu reboot. You know, which I hope still happens.
I do too.
I hope it still happens too. I really hope that this doesn't stop it. Like I think that they have to carry on with it just in the, you know, just for Johnny too.
I don't know.
Feel like he
wouldn't have wanted that.
Yeah.
That's what I was. That's what I was fixing to say. I didn't know the man personally, but just from his outward appearance and his YouTube videos and the stuff that I've seen, he would want the show to go on. And
that's right.
I told Rusty this in a previous episode. We're gonna do like Hank did. We're going to go in the garage, put the door down, cry for a couple of minutes, then we'll come out and everything keeps running. You know, I mean, that's just what you do, especially for somebody that was dedicated to that.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, you know what? He was not the type of guy that would, you know, sit in his sadness. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, that it must go on kind of regardless.
Sure. Yeah.
And, you know, I met him about 13 years ago.
Okay.
And we just became friends because we were fans of music, and he was turning me on to all these different westerns that we were doing as case studies for what we were trying to create.
I got
another guy that used to work on King of the Hill named Randy Kubisak is our animator, and you know, well respected by people like Wes Archer.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
I got to tell you, The Rifleman was one of those things I watched every day as a kid.
Dude, do you know Chuck Connors was the very first NBA player to shatter a backboard?
No, I had no idea.
Are you serious?
That's a great,
That is a
holy
crazy
shit.
fact.
Yeah.
Chuck Connors, the rifleman. The rifleman was the first guy to
The
break a
rifleman.
backboard. That is
Yeah, dude, he
nuts.
played
Great
for the Boston Celtics.
My son
wow.
is 12, about to be 13, and there was a
Right.
relative that he spent time with when he was a kid that would babysit him for me while I was at work, and they would always watch The Rifleman. So my son,
Yep.
like as a 12-year-old, he probably knows The Rifleman better than men who are in their 60s, and he loves that show. So I'm gonna tell him that fact when I get home because he's at that age where he's buying basketball shoes
sure.
and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
he's gonna think he's gonna like that.
I
one.
mean,
That's good.
you know how it is. Every time somebody says the rifleman, the only thing I hear is
Yeah.
rifleman. You know, that
Yeah.
kind of yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that he was like, he would flip that rifle
Oh,
around, and
yeah.
Johnny loved that gun work, and
Oh, I bet.
he's
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
we were just last time we talked was on the 30th of July,
Okay.
and we talked for about an hour and a half, and he was really into nose breathing too. So I don't know if you guys are
Nose breathing.
familiar with that.
No,
I
yeah.
actually
So,
am
like-
familiar with it. There's a friend of
Yeah.
mine that talked to me about it, and my friend's really into holistic stuff, and he's
Yeah.
big on
Dude.
psychedelics and stuff.
You got to tell me what nose
Yeah.
breathing is. I have no idea.
It's like where you breathe just from your nose. Like apparently,
I assume
early
that.
early man only used their nose to breathe. They didn't breathe out of their mouth, and that's what it is. It's
Okay.
about going back to that breathing because that's how our bodies are meant to breathe, and it's
Okay.
better for us. And oxygen, how oxygen is transported throughout our body, and all kinds of stuff like
Gotcha.
that. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Now,
So there's a book on it that we both read and we watch. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's I can't remember the author's name right now, but we were
Yeah,
really
sure.
into talking about that, using it as meditative forms and
well, I think
as the powers of creation.
yeah, anytime somebody tells you about meditating or any of that calming
Mm-hmm.
down your blood pressure or anything like that, it's always breathe through the nose, exhale through the mouth, all of that kind of stuff. So I can see where there's something there.
So you know what? I know this question is going to come up because everybody wants
Sure.
to know, like, how did he die, right?
Yeah, we weren't.
So
gonna
everybody's
say that,
already
but
thinking that, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
So-
I'm sure everybody is. Yeah.
I can tell you that I don't believe it was drugs and alcohol, and I at the bottom of my heart I can tell you that I believe that is true.
Good.
I think that Johnny was an organic guy, man. He
Yeah.
really liked
Yeah.
Demetrius Earth. I don't even know if I'm saying that
Yeah,
right.
I know what you're
but,
talking about. Yeah. Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
dog dewormer for cancer, things like that, right? So
Sure.
he didn't like to take his blood pressure medication because it would make him kind of sluggish. And I mean that's until somebody tells me different,
Yeah.
I'm going to believe it was natural cause. So
Yeah.
just
It's
just
it,
if it
did
calms anybody's mind.
Yeah.
Did he
and-
battle blood pressure for a long time or?
He did, yeah,
Yeah.
for at least the last 10 years.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
man. You hit 50, things start falling off. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
the way it is. I'm 54,
That's
so
it.
I got it. I completely understand. I got 1 foot right now I can't use. So it's time starts catching up with you, no matter who you are. And
That's right.
somebody who lived as robust a life as he did, I'm sure it caught up really quick.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he really was like Forrest Gump. He would just walk into, because J.B. Cook called him the Golden Boy. I don't know if you know who he is, but he wrote a couple episodes of King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Like
awesome.
Johnny just seems to just walk into pots of gold, and it's just amazing to watch it work.
There are people in our lives that come through that my dad always said, they could instead of falling in shit, they fall in flowers or whatever. I mean, it's just, you come out smelling like roses, and it's just, I think it has to do with attitude and spirit and karma and whatever else you want to
Intention.
attribute it to.
Yeah.
You put good stuff out there, good things come back, and we lose good people all the time way too early, and he's certainly
Well,
one of those.
I feel like if you guys would let me, I feel like I need to tell a story that he told me about his father.
God,
And his
please
father
do.
was
Yeah, you can tell
was a-
anything you want
was
to
a-
tell, buddy. We're open
Okay.
ears. Yeah, this is your
Yeah.
this is
Absolutely.
your stage.
okay. I don't want to piss this management group off or anything like that, so I'm trying to be really respectful,
Gotcha,
right?
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
So, and
Well, I'm sure
so
that
Johnny's dad-
nobody. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say
Go
I'm
ahead,
sure that
finish.
nobody in his management team is even where we exist.
Yeah, probably.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. So Johnny's dad was a pilot, and his mom was a stewardess, or steward, whatever they call him now,
sure,
right?
Sure.
And so his dad was flying a lot over Nevada during the times they were testing nuclear weapons. So his father actually died of thyroid cancer and had got it from the nuclear testing,
Sure.
and passed those genes on to his children.
That's amazing.
So all four, his two brothers and his sister, had part of their thyroid taken off to take medication. So and they all up to current, right?
Yeah.
And so it was something that that he battled with, his entire life, because Johnny didn't like to take prescription medication.
Can't blame him there.
He was really like Dale in that aspect.
Yeah.
And I think that story needs to be told so that people can understand that, like,
oh, sure.
Thyroid conditions are, I think it helped him be the creative genius that he was, but it also created some misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Like if you hear stories about it, especially from people in Austin, in current day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So coronavirus, screwed with everybody.
Sure.
But he was a good man.
Yeah.
And he was the greatest writer. And I know quite a few comics and stuff like that. He was the most brilliant writer I've ever met in my entire life.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I think that he would want people to know that, that was a real condition for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because people are going to be talking about I don't know if it'll make national.
I've already seen it. Yeah, it's already the trolls and everything on the internet are already saying it's got to be drugs or alcohol. Like no, it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. Yeah.
He was sober. He hadn't drank in like 13 years.
Yeah. See, I was gonna ask you about that, about being sober. Was he? He was a big advocate.
Well, I don't know if he was a big advocate, but he did do some damage in his life around drugs and alcohol.
Sure.
And he got sober as a result of that. And for a while he was what you would call California sober, right, where you smoke weed.
Gotcha. Sure.
But you don't do anything else.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense for Dale.
He was proud of it. Yeah, he was. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he wasn't a member of anything, right?
Sure.
He wasn't a joiner.
Right.
So But he, I know that in his last days, I know that he was clean and sober as far as I know.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, we do a couple of shows here that are done by folks who've been sober for several years, and I personally haven't had a drink. It'll be 2 years in October, and so that really
20 and a half for me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I think from what I'm understanding about sobriety, it doesn't matter how long it is. We're all fighting that same demon. And,
that's it.
Between you and I, we could walk into just about anywhere and boom, a drink hit us. It's just, I used to smoke 3 packs a day, and I quit 20 something years ago. But every once in a while, when I walk by somebody smoking a cigarette, I'm like, oh boy, that would be good.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's the same thing with alcohol. And alcohol is even worse because it is freaking everywhere. And you don't realize it until you quit, how that stuff is every friggin' place you go.
It's everywhere.
Everything you watch, everything you see, there it is. And so...
Well, it really is going to be the legend of Johnny Hardwick, right?
Yeah.
So, because everybody has a story.
Yeah.
But I can tell you he was just as human as you and I are right now, talking on this phone.
Sure.
And, he loved tobacco, too. So, he smoked up until the day that he passed.
Yeah, yeah.
So, blood pressure, smoking.
Oh, yeah. I get it.
Not the greatest combination.
Put all those things together, something happened. Yeah.
Yeah, hypertension, yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time and talking to us about Johnny.
Yeah, an open invitation. Anytime you want to come on and talk anything King of the Hill or anything in life, period.
I'm just so sad that he's gone. And it just... it's one of those that hits you out of the blue. You're like, well, I didn't know this guy, but I feel like I knew this guy, And
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard. That's a tough one. It's not quite the
Well,
same.
I would say
as,
try to stay away from, the drugs and alcohol route.
There you go.
That actually happens to be the case, but I don't believe it was. So.
Yeah. Well, I would certainly never bring that up about anybody until it's proven, or whatever. And even if it is proven, guess what? Everybody's got their demons and things happen.
That's right.
Yeah. People can't point fingers at nobody, and nobody is any better
you're
than
not
the
kidding.
next.
You're not kidding. That's a good way to get fingers pointed back at you.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, sir. We really appreciate it. Is there and you don't have to tell me this if you don't want to. Is there a memorial or something coming up, or have you already had something like that?
There's going to be I know there's going to be a private one, I think, for the family, and we're actually talking about doing a memorial maybe in Austin as well as in LA.
Wow,
and I'll keep you guys informed.
If there's anything in Austin, we would love.
Yeah,
to
we're in Waco, by the way. So if you ever want to do lunch, we're in Austin, we'll gladly come down and have a lunch if you're in Austin. Austin is nothing for. I'm in Austin actually twice a week for work. I deliver wine all over Austin. So.
Oh wow, very cool. Yeah, I'm in California.
Sure.
But chances are within the next week I'll probably be out there.
Well, I'll tell you this: if they do have something in Austin, please give us a shout out. We really appreciate it, and we're not going to come as the show. We're going to come as us.
Yeah.
And so don't think that we would ever use that as an opportunity to do anything. We would just love to pay our tribute. So.
Yeah, our intentions are pure. We don't because I already know there's people on the internet that are going to say the only reason why we're talking about Johnny Hardwick is because he passed, and we want to try to ride the coattail of it. But that's not it. It's a King of the Hill podcast. I've gone by Rusty for over 15 years as a nickname. I'm 33. I identify with it so much. I didn't really Johnny Hardwick as a man. I didn't start exploring his comedy and his YouTube channel until I was in my 20s. But Dale as a character has impacted me since I was 8 years old. You know what I mean? So it's just.
Well, let me tell you a funny story real quick.
Please do.
A quick funny story about the current recording session.
Okay.
So they have the voices queued up, right? And they would play them back so that the actors could remember who they were.
Sure.
And it was funny because they were playing Rusty Shackelford, right? and I told the sound engineer at the time that you guys have to find Dale because he's going to say that's not Dale, that's Rusty.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. He had about 4 people in him. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was funny because they always tried to get Johnny to do different small characters and stuff like that, and every time he would do it, it sounded just like Dale.
Yeah. So. I think I remember him doing some things on the phone or something like that, to fill in. And boy, you could pick him out every single time.
Every single time.
Well, between him and Stephen Root, I mean, they are very, very recognizable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Well, man,
thank you guys. I appreciate you guys carrying it on, man.
We really do. We really do. And our thoughts are with you and your family also as you go through this. Certainly Johnny's family, but you guys were super close. And I just can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to nobodies in Waco, Texas. But I
haven't talked to anybody yet except for you guys. So, and I get calls all the time.
I bet you do.
So you guys are doing good things, man.
Well, thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate it. All right. Well, we'll give you your time back, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
You as well. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.